Hello and welcome back. I'm Dr. Suraj. In this short video, I'll be discussing certain MCQs in dermatology. So let's start with the first question. Identify the lesion shown in the image given below. So in dermatology, you have to remember the lesions by looking at pictures because many of the MCQs in dermatology will be image based. So this lesion here has three components. The first is skin appears thickened. So there is skin thickening and there is increase in skin markings. As you can see here, there are increased skin markings. And the third thing is there is hyperpigmentation. So these three together is known as lichenification. So the answer for this question would be D, lichenification. So let's go ahead and discuss the basic skin lesions which you all have to remember for the exams in dermatology. So basic skin lesions is divided into three categories: primary skin lesions, secondary skin lesions, and special skin lesions. So what you all have to remember in these is very simple. So primary skin lesions, you have to know what is a macule. So a macule is a small area of hypo or hyperpigmentation which is not palpable. So it is less than 0.5 centimeters. A patch is a large area of hyper or hyperpigmentation which is again not palpable. So this is more than 0.5 centimeters. And the next lesion is a papule. A papule is a small lesion which is palpable and less than 0.5 centimeters. The next lesion is a patch. It's a plaque. So a plaque is a large raised lesion which is more than 0.5 centimeters. And the other two lesions which you have to remember under primary are wheals. So wheals is specific for urticaria. Urticaria, it is nothing but localized skin edema. And next is vesicle. So vesicle is a small lesion which is again less than 0.5 centimeters. A small fluid filled lesion less than 0.5 centimeters is a vesicle. And the last thing which you have to remember under primary lesions is bullae. Bullae are large lesions which are more than 1 centimeter which are fluid filled. So these are the primary skin lesions which you have to remember. And coming to the secondary skin lesions. So secondary skin lesions are scales. As the name itself suggests, they are thickened epidermis which is palpable. Then there's crusting which is usually seen secondary to certain infections. And then there is lichenification. So what is lichenification? So this is an important MCQ. So lichenification has three components. The first being increased skin thickening. Increase in skin thickening. Increase in skin markings. And hyperpigmentation. So this usually occurs because of chronic itching over the skin, such as in dermatitis and eczema. So lichenification is very important, and you have to know these are the three components of lichenification. And now coming to the special lesions. So under special lesions, if this lesion is identified, it is special for that disease. So for example, comedones. Comedones, if present, are specific for acne. Then burrows. Burrows, if present, are specific for scabies. And the next is telangiectasia. This is again specific in ataxia telangiectasia. The next lesion is poikiloderma. So poikiloderma is areas of hypo plus hyperpigmentation with telangiectasia and atrophy. So all these four components, if present, indicates poikiloderma, and it is seen in certain inherited genetic disorders. So you have to remember all these with regard to special skin, with regard to basic skin lesions, and the most important being lichenification and these special skin lesions. So let's move on to the next question. In which of the following conditions is this lesion not seen? So let's look at this lesion here. So classically these lesions look like targets. So they look like targets. So they are called as target lesions. So where are these target lesions seen? So target lesions are seen in erythema multiforme. So erythema multiforme is very important question again asked in the MCQs. So with regard to erythema multiforme, you have to know the etiologies of erythema multiforme. So the etiologies are infections. So one of the most common etiologies is herpes infection, and the other infections where this is seen is mycoplasma and histoplasmosis. The drugs causing erythema multiforme are also very important to remember. They are sulfonamides, penicillins, NSAIDs, especially ibuprofen, barbiturates, and fluconazole. And the conditions, systemic conditions where this is seen is systemic lupus erythematosus, inflammatory bowel disease, and certain malignancies such as CA breast. So you have to know what is the clinical feature of this condition. So in this condition, you have a typical target lesion which is seen. So a target lesion consists of three components. The outermost component is known as the erythematous border. So outermost is erythematous border. The center is dusky erythema, and there is an intermediate zone of halo. Intermediate zone of halo. So these three lesions, these three are the components of the lesion in erythema multiforme, and hence they are called as target lesions. So now coming to this treatment of erythema multiforme, since there are varied etiologies, it is very difficult to identify the etiology in the first sitting. So the treatment can be acyclovir, antifungal, which is given because one of the most important causes is herpes infection, or it can be steroids, where these two conditions are taken care of. So in routine practice, since the exact etiology is not known, initially the patient is given acyclovir for 2 days, and after 2 days, if the symptom worsens, then we shift over to steroids, and if the symptoms improve, we continue acyclovir for a total of 5 days. So this is the treatment algorithm for erythema multiforme. So now coming to the question, in which of the following conditions is the lesion not seen? So we identify the lesion as erythema multiforme. So in which of these conditions is erythema multiforme not seen? So it is, so since I discussed, the answer is pityriasis rosea. In herpes, SLE, and inflammatory bowel disease, erythema multiforme is a feature. So pityriasis rosea is a condition where erythema multiforme is not seen. So coming to the next question, which of the following drugs is given as an oral preparation to treat the condition shown in the picture? So this is a picture you have to remember. It's a very classical lesion which is seen here, which are known as burrows. So these are burrows. So burrows are specific for scabies. So as you can see here, they are seen in the interdigital spaces. So these are burrows. Here. So these are burrows with surrounding crusting because of scratching, and there can be secondary infection also. So now coming to scabies, you have to know the treatment for scabies. So for treatment of scabies, there are multiple options. So we have to remember, first one being 5% permethrin, the second one being 1% lindane. So all these are creams or topical application. Third is 25% benzyl benzoate. Fourth is crotamitone cream. And fifth is precipitated sulfur ointment. And the sixth is tablet ivermectin. So as you can see, among these, the only oral preparation is this. So this comes as a tablet form, which is ivermectin. And all these are topical preparations. And one more question which they can ask in this is 5% permethrin is also drug of choice in pregnancy. So scabies with pregnancy, you give 5% topical permethrin cream. So now coming to this question, which of the following conditions is given as an oral preparation to treat the condition? So as I told you, the oral preparation is given here is ivermectin. So the answer is B, ivermectin. So moving on to the next question. An adolescent boy has come to your OPD with this condition. What is the drug of choice for this condition? So first we have to diagnose the condition based on the picture here. So as you can see here, you can see multiple papules, and you can see certain comedones here. So these white lesions are comedones. So whenever you see comedones, what is the lesion underlying condition? Underlying condition is acne. acne vulgaris. And the history also says an adolescent boy, which is again, acne is more common in adolescent age group. So let's discuss about the treatment of acne and the grades of acne, and then we'll solve this question. So here it's very important. So this picture shows the grades of acne. So here there are 4 grades of acne. So this is grade 1. So grade 1, you can see only comedones. So all these are comedones. Grade 1 is comedones. So this is grade 2, where you can see comedones with papules. So comedones with papules is grade 2. And this is grade 3, where you can see comedones with papules with certain pustules. So as you can see here, these are all pustules, and they appear erythematous also because of inflammation. So papules, comedones plus papules plus pustules is grade 3, and grade 4 is what is known as nodulocystic acne, where there can be abscesses also because of multiple pustules aggregating together. So treatment is important in this condition. So for grade 1, the treatment would be topical retinoids. So for grade 1 acne, the treatment is topical retinoids. Example is adapalene. So adapalene is a new retinoid preparation which has relatively less side effects, which is used as a topical retinoid. Or apart from this, even tretinoin also can be used. Grade 2 acne, the treatment would be topical retinoids with a topical antibiotic. So what antibiotic would you use? You would prefer clindamycin. So you would prefer clindamycin. Also topical benzoyl peroxide also is used. So topical clindamycin or topical benzoyl peroxide is also used. Now grade 3 acne, so the treatment is oral antibiotics. Oral antibiotics such as doxycycline. Now here there's an important viva question which can be asked in your final year examinations, during the practical examinations. So what is the mechanism of action behind doxycycline used in acne? So the primary mechanism of action is not because of its antibacterial property, but because of its anti-inflammatory property. So it reduces the inflammation along the pustules. So that is the main action of doxycycline. So now coming to grade 4 acne. So the grade 4 acne, the drug of choice is oral retinoids. That is isotretinoin. So isotretinoin is the drug of choice. So here you have to remember there are two oral retinoids. So one is isotretinoin, which has both keratolytic plus sebolytic action. So isotretinoin has keratolytic with sebolytic action, whereas the second one, which is acitretin, has only keratolytic action. So it is less frequently used, and more frequently used is isotretinoin. So, and before we finish this topic on treatment of acne, you have to know what are the side effects of isotretinoin. So you just remember, apart from your normal routine side effects, you have to know these 3 important side effects. Number 1 is the most common side effect, which is dryness of lips. So most important side effect is dryness of lips. Second one is it is contraindicated, that is category X in pregnancy. It is completely contraindicated in pregnancy. So it's very important when you're prescribing this drug during young ladies. And the third is this is again an MCQ point, pseudotumor cerebri or benign intracranial hypertension can also be seen as a side effect of isotretinoin. So these are the important points with regard to treatment of acne. So now let's go back to this question. So this, as we all know, this is nodulocystic acne, so which is grade 4. So this is grade 4 acne. So what is the drug of choice in grade 4 acne? The drug of choice is isotretinoin, so oral preparation of isotretinoin. And before starting isotretinoin, always get a baseline lipid profile done. So before starting, get a baseline lipid profile done, because it can derange the lipid profile values. So moving on to the next question. A 40-year-old lady with history of dental filling presents with these lesions in the oral cavity. So this is again classical of lichen planus. So we'll discuss why is this lichen planus. So they're asking you what is the appropriate treatment for this lichen planus. So as you can see here, there is characteristic white lacy lesions. White lacy lesions. So these, if present in the oral cavity, is characteristic of lichen planus. So you have to remember something in lichen planus which are known as 5 P's. So what are the 5 P's of lichen planus? They are plain topped, purple, pruritic, polygonal, papules. So the 5 P's for lichen planus lesions over the skin are plain topped. So as you can see here, they are flat, plain topped here, and they are purple in color. They are pruritic, that is they are itchy, and they can be polygonal in shape, and they are papules. So when you're describing lichen planus lesion on the skin, so these are the points to remember. Whereas lichen planus lesions in the oral cavity, they appear as white lacy lesions. And one of the most important etiologies of lichen planus, apart from them being idiopathic, is dental amalgam. So dental amalgam is an important etiological factor for oral lichen planus. So as you can see in the question here also, there is history of dental filling. So that is a etiology of lichen planus. So coming to the treatment of lichen planus, the treatment involves topical steroids. Topical steroids and oral steroids if very severe. And there are newer drugs such as calcineurin inhibitors and hydroxychloroquine also it can be used, because all these have anti-inflammatory properties. So that is the main, since that's the main etiology, these are the conditions which are used, which are the drugs which are used. So here you have to know one more important MCQ point. If you apply alcohol on a lichen planus lesion and observe under a microscope, you see certain striae-like lesion. So this striae is known as, I'll write it here, they are known as Wickham's striae. Wickham's striae. So Wickham's striae is what you see on a microscope when you put slight amount of alcohol on an LP lesion and view on a microscope. You look at this striae-like lesion, so which are known as Wickham's striae. So now coming to the question, so what is the appropriate line of treatment for oral lichen planus? Acitretin is again not a line of treatment. Fluconazole is an antifungal, is not given here. Observation, no. The treatment is topical steroids. So usually give topical triamcinolone paste for oral lichen planus. Triamcinolone paste is what is used, which is a topical steroid. So now coming to the next question. A 35-year-old man came to the OPD with multiple flaccid bullae and erosions, as you can see here, over the body with involvement of oral cavity also. What is the antigen defect in this condition? So this is again a pathological based question, so we have to know the pathology behind this condition. So this condition belongs to something known as vesico-bullous disorders. So under vesico-bullous disorders, you have to know two main conditions, that is pemphigus vulgaris, and other condition you have to know is bullous pemphigoid. So we have to know these two conditions and how to differentiate between these two. So let's look at a table which can help us differentiate between these two. So we have to know what are the antigen defects in these conditions. So in pemphigus vulgaris, the antigen which is defective is desmoglein 3. So there is desmoglein 1 and desmoglein 2 which are present around the keratinocytes in the epidermis. So in pemphigus vulgaris, desmoglein 3 is defective. In bullous pemphigoid, BPAG2 and BPAG1 is defective. So BPAG stands for bullous pemphigoid antigen. So if options give both BPAG2 and BPAG1, choose BPAG2. So this is more important. And clinical features in pemphigus vulgaris, you find something known as a suprabasal cleft, so which is seen here. So that is, so this is the stratum basale and this is the keratinocytes. So there's a suprabasal cleft, whereas in bullous pemphigoid there's a subepidermal, so this is the dermis, this is the epidermis, there's a subepidermal cleft. So since this is a suprabasal cleft, these bullas are flaccid. So they are flaccid bullae, so they're easily breakable. So once they break, they have erosions all underneath them. Whereas in bullous pemphigoid, it is tense bullae. So you have to remember something, two clinical signs which are seen in these conditions. Pemphigus vulgaris, something known as Nikolsky's sign is positive. So what is Nikolsky sign? Nikolsky sign is when you apply a tangential pressure over a bony prominence, the epidermis gets peeled off and you can see the underlying erosion beneath that flaccid bulla. So this is done usually in the elbow, over the elbow, over a bony prominence. Asbo-Hansen sign is when, since it's a tense bulla, if you apply a direct perpendicular pressure over the bulla, this bulla spreads, it enlarges in size. So Asbo-Hansen sign is also known as bulla spread sign. So Asbo-Hansen sign or bulla spread sign. So Nikolsky sign is positive in pemphigus vulgaris and Asbo-Hansen sign is positive in bullous pemphigoid. Histopathologically, you find a suprabasal cleft in pemphigus vulgaris, as I showed here, whereas in bullous pemphigoid you find a subepidermal cleft. So this is a suprabasal cleft, as you can see here. And the direct immunofluorescence, you find fishnet pattern in pemphigus vulgaris, whereas in bullous pemphigoid you find linear deposits in the basement membrane. So here there's a picture of a DIF in pemphigus vulgaris. You can find this fishnet pattern. So all this is fishnet pattern because the defect is in desmoglin 3, which is present all around the keratinocytes. So that gets illuminated here. So DIF has a fishnet pattern, whereas in bullous pemphigoid it is a linear pattern which you can see in the basement membrane. So coming to the question. So since this question says that it is multiple flaccid bullae with erosions, the diagnosis is pemphigus vulgaris, and you can see the picture here also, the multiple erosions. So this is pemphigus vulgaris. What is the antigen defect in pemphigus vulgaris? And the answer is desmoglin 3. These two are seen in bullous pemphigoid, and tissue transglutaminase is seen in, the defect of tissue transglutaminase is seen in dermatitis herpetiformis, which is associated with gluten sensitivity. So in gluten sensitivity, you find one of the dermatological features, dermatitis herpetiformis, because of a defect in the tissue transglutaminase. So that's it for this video, and thank you.